Hello there. My name is David Lonigan, and I am the Managing Director at Framework Recruitment. And this morning, I am speaking to Simon Culmer, who is the Operations Director at Maxlight Limited. Simon, could you give our audience an introduction to yourself at Maxlight and the business itself?
Morning, David. Yeah, I'm Simon. I joined Maxlight, my brother Tony's company, who started it about 15 years ago. Structural glazing company, have our own range, own brand of sliding doors using our own profiles. We make everything right behind me here in the factory, and we install everything through our own installers, no subcontracting, no third parties. We own the brand, we own the quality of everything we do.
And what would you say in the last, say, since because you've been in the business now, how many years? It's
My
five
sixth
years?
year now, six.
6 years, 6 years. And to be fair, like I think my intro, I'd always been aware of Maxlight, but it wasn't until you stepped in that I got the opportunity to work with you guys, and it's been, yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant since. What would you say is a sort of highlight in that 6 year career journey so far?
Well, it's been an interesting time because I joined in sort of like late 2019. I went off to a grand designs exhibition and all sorts of things. And then I think the other thing that joined at the same time was sort of COVID. So I guess everybody has lived through that for a number of years. So early 20, my brother got it. We sent everybody home because Boris said you can't be within, half a mile of each other and all the rest of it. No parties. And we had to sort of learn about our systems and our processes and how do you do this under sort of adverse sort of conditions. So my concentration when I first joined was trying to remove single points of failure, because we'd never looked at that because we'd just been on the up and on the up going through good times, as it were. So I started looking at business points of failure, understanding what it is we did and how we did it. We learned an awful lot through COVID when we had to send everybody home, and then gradually we got manufacturing going again, and we got installation going, staying within the rules. It's very good. We had very, very few people on furlough. We managed to avoid it because we got everybody back into work. We had a great order book. Orders then slowed down consequentially because people just didn't know where they were going, and the builder hadn't quite worked out how to work through COVID. But second half of 20, it started to sort of come back, and it was okay. 2021, it continued to, and we were fully operational. 2022, the world went crazy. All of a sudden, the business grew by 40% in a year. And then the forward-looking backlog of inquiries also grew exponentially. So for 21, it was getting better. 22 went crazy. 23 sustained. 24, you could feel it slowing a little bit. Inquiries just sort of softened because I guess interest rates were beginning to bite. People were falling out of love with the current, with the then political sort of regime and what was going on. And eventually we had a new government or an election announced sort of last May. Interest rates, I think, were beginning to come down, but nothing like as quickly. And then later last year, we had a change of government, so that had to sort of bed in. Interest rates have, since then have improved slightly again, which is sort of good. But then we've now got our friend Donald in the United States just throwing all sorts of uncertainty into the world. And I think my best advice to everybody is stop watching the news, because give it a couple of months and it'll all calm down. So yeah,
I find
we've
it
lived through some interesting times. We removed single points of failure. We tried to improve efficiency in everything we did. And I think we're just a much better business because we've been stressed as a result.
Now, I know you'd be far too modest to say I've changed these things and it was because you commit, but no, but I'd also like to say I know we've spoken about it before because I have data that I can use from other clients who have business leaders and decision makers who have come in from other industries, specifically like you from tech, and they come in and they don't have those biases that some of the sort of long in the tooth industry folk might have, and they're able to introduce strategies and processes that transcend the industry. They're just smart strategies and processes, and those seem to be the clients that are doing really well.
Yeah, I guess it gives you other points of reference. Doesn't necessarily make them right. It gives you other points of reference versus people that perhaps always been in an engineering sort of background. And that has been useful because I guess, I worked in tech, and then in my career at tech, I probably went through in the last 25 years, two sort of recessions in tech. One was sort of like post Y2K, because that was a crazy growing 40% year on year leading up to it, because telling everyone to change their infrastructure. So there was a bit of a reset in the industry then. And what I found out, you probably learned more in a recession or a slowdown than you did when the thing was taken off like a rocket. And so I guess I came in like other people in the tech industry changing over. You come in with some of that experience. It just prepares you, makes you ready, makes you look a little bit more to the future rather than the rear view mirror in terms of planning your business. Because I think we saw
Oh,
that.
sorry.
I'm going to say
Oh,
we saw that in other industries as well, where you plan based on what's happened in the past. You plan looking in a rear view mirror, but what's the problem? The obstacles are in front of you.
there's also that maxim in business of I'd rather know what I'm getting right. I'd rather know what I'm getting wrong when times are bad than not know what I'm getting right as things are going well, because who knows, right?
Yeah, you can get away with a lot of mistakes, a lot of inefficiency when you're in a growing market. But if the market, as it did sort of immediately after COVID, and then probably a couple of times later on, there's sort of been bumps on the road with sort of, I say, governmental change, interest rates coming in, because all of our customers by definition are homeowners, and probably half of them have got a fairly substantial mortgage. So that does have an impact on people's sort of propensity to spend. Yeah.
It's almost like though death from a thousand cuts sometimes when you're really trying to analyze, especially for the UK fenestration architectural glazing market. Because I had clients, and much exactly actually this same thing happened to you, where post COVID they would have landlords turning up and saying stuff like, "Well, your rent's gone up 100% now." Like as much as the landscape in terms of logistics, energies, and all these things have made it a lot harder for companies to exist. I feel like the UK, have had a very particular set of those circumstances, as opposed to, because I work with clients like Q4, who are quintessentially a Romanian company. I have found that the UK market, it's very easy to just say. It's death from a thousand cuts, but it has been a very particular set of problems, which has caused that sort of uneasy market at times. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I would. And I think the other thing is, if it is a thousand cuts, it's a painful death. I think sometimes what you've got to do is you've got to go for the open heart surgery or whatever. That's what I saw in tech, in terms of if it's something, if you think there's a storm coming, presume it's coming, presume it's going to be worse than you thought it was, and massively prepare or over prepare for it. That way, if you're wrong in the upside. So I think, death by a thousand cuts is a great way to go out of business permanently. And we all know of companies that have done that. I think those that sort of get in front of it, say, well, if the rent's going to double, don't worry. I've been looking for new premises for 2 years. We've got someone identified. We're going to sign the contract on that. We're going to say goodbye to the current landlord that thinks in this market it is good to double your rent. Been there, done that. It is good. It gets you to a better place.
And I guess even I guess one of the advantages you have, quintessentially tech by definition is a future-focused industry that is constantly bringing new product, new strategies to market due to the nature of what it is. And actually, even though it's a niche, architectural glazing and fenestration, it's a construction niche. One thing that construction hasn't really done well even in this, even since the 90s, is do things differently, because you still have when you look at the sort of from tier 1, tier 2, they're still pretty much operating like they did in those times,
Yeah, I mean,
bar different legislative and
yeah, new materials have come in. I guess a bit of government legislation, building legislation in terms of Part F and the rest of it in terms of insulation. So there are things that have been done to drive people to make changes, to make homes that are better insulated, that can control airflow and all the rest of it. So I guess it's a bit slower. I mean, the thing is, in tech though, in tech there's a mindset where if you stand still, you're going backwards, and it is so true, because there's a thing called Moore's law in tech, where computing power sort of doubles every 18 months. Oh, it's probably changed now since I was in tech, but it's absolutely true. This year's product, that's going to fly off the shelves next year, it's going to die.
Yeah, the exponential curve in tech is now like it's
Yeah.
gone, right? It's actually probably
Right.
not
Well,
even traceable.
look at AI. What we've been experiencing. For a while now, people saying AI is coming, it's going to be the biggest thing since sliced bread. And even me, with a tech background, thought, yeah, really, it's not really going to happen. My top bookmark thing is now ChatGPT. We now have a corporate account, and we try all. You ask it all sorts of things. It's helped me book my holiday, but it's also helped me, talk about suppliers, talk about other things. It's helped me refine contracts.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting. Like I find, especially how as a small business owner, I especially like I have embraced what that technology can do. But I think there's this really big. I mean, I guess it's connected to how when any story gets into that sort of mainstream legacy media viewpoint, it's always if it bleeds, it leads. And so I think the conversation around it has, especially as I say through that large media lens, has always been very pessimistic about it's here to kill us, to take jobs. Well, automation has been stealing jobs for hundreds of years, but I guess for me what I'm seeing is it's just really efficient technology, and it can just really refine my processes, make me do things
True.
quicker, and give me
And
a
I think
leg up.
AI is going to break some traditional models. I mean, and by that I mean, I saw this, through sort of the computing age, the internet age, and stuff like that. Is the industry is very, very good at hyping up the difference something's going to make because it's in their interest to do so. And what actually happens is history sort of shows that the hype was all true. In fact, the hype undercalled the impact that the technology was going to bring, but it massively overcalled the timescales. So I remember when the internet came and changed, I think when I was at Cisco, the internet changing the way that we work, live, play, and learn. And, this is when online was an idea, it wasn't a real thing. And what it did, even at Cisco, we who were very well run and very bright at sort of like looking at the business going forward. I think even Cisco, I would say, underestimated the impact the internet was going to have on all of our world throughout the world. But I think they probably overestimated the speed at which it was going to happen. What I see with AI, I'm now on the other side. I listed all the hype that really is it going to happen. Now I look at what you can do, and we're only just scratching the surface in a way that works for us. I think AI is going to break that model in terms of, I think we are underestimating what it's going to do for us in the future and the thing it's going to do to society and all the rest of it. And I think it's happening quicker than even, ChatGPT and Microsoft and other things going to happen. It's moving so quick. It's
I
great.
guess it's you can't put it back in the box now, right? There's no way, because it's almost like that. In certain marketplaces, the fact that like if you want to be too sort of, if you're guided too much by your morals, or that sort of like the negative way you could look at it, ultimately the competitors won't, and ultimately you will be left behind unless you can adopt, unless you can integrate.
Yeah, we should always be guided by our morals. And the good thing is, I guess the good thing for humankind is that ChatGPT probably doesn't have any morals yet, or has only got the ones it's been taught. So I think where it works really well is that you've got the people that are using it. At least they do understand what's going on. They know what good should look like. They know what bad might look like. But I think as time goes on, that's going to become less and less of a differentiator. I think it's great. I mean, I see younger people in our business, it's open on their desktop all the time. They're using it for everything. They're delivering some great work. I just hope that, my brother and I and others in the business are adding value by critiquing it or changing something. I don't always take what ChatGPT gives to, because it might be too gushy, it might be too salesy, it might be too Americanized in terms of what it does, or it may miss the point completely. But I just think the next generation behind me, I hope that they're able to see that, because they've had other points of reference in like a world without ChatGPT.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's focus on, let's have a little talk about sort of, or focus the conversation towards the sort of skills and strategies. Now, with your 6 years, what would you consider are sort of some of the successful strategies and skills that you'd need to be an operations director in a glazing market that's had those death from a thousand cuts, that had this market go up and down?
I would say, because I'm biased, because I came from tech, it's just like you don't, glazing, it's its own technology, has its own complexities and stuff, but it's not complex to learn, So I feel that over that 6 years, I can do most things that anybody can do in the business, but I couldn't do a survey. I couldn't go and survey a glass box, because my brother can measure sky and it fits. Or our surveyors could sort of measure a trench in a field and it fits. So I know my limitations. I just, you and I spoke about this before. I think if you know how to run a business, you know how to run a business, and whether it's a glass sliding door business, a hotel, a shop, or whatever, they're all businesses. There's very fundamental things. You just got to get more money in than you spend. You've got to delight your customers. So that's the focus I've got. Trying to give the best possible customer experience. It's not about price; it's about experience. But the product's got to be good. It's got to be affordable. I suppose the other thing, from a sales point of view, is we make sure we qualify stuff. I don't want to get a long way into a conversation with somebody that's got champagne taste but not champagne money or something like that. So that's what we're sort of focusing on, making sure that we, from a sales point of view, we focus on stuff that we think is winnable, that we deserve to win if we work hard enough at it. Give everybody, whether you do business with them or not, a great experience, because good things, the word does spread. Bad things spread like wildfire.
Well, yeah.
So I want to make sure that our reviews are always attended to. I'm really, we've got very few bad reviews, and I know them all intimately because I've met with the people, I've spoken to them. I can't change what you give us a review, but we've only got a couple of bad ones over the years. We've had others that could have been, but we lent into it, we fixed it. So I would say, run towards problems, earn your reviews, and maintain them.
I guess as to lead off on that, with regards to a company that is fabricating, producing its own systems, I guess is that as much a blessing as a curse in that respect? Because when it is your own system, not only when the projects are going well, you can lean into that. Well, look, and it's our own system. And I guess when the projects are, as you say, when there's issues, I guess there's the requirement to meet those problems dead on, even more profound when you have your own system, because you can't say, well, it's the manufacturer's problem or the system itself.
I guess now I have less terms of reference because I came from tech. I never saw a factory or anything like that. I would say now I feel it's an advantage because we control all of our variables. We don't control interest rates. We don't control exchange rates. We don't control the price of aluminium or glass or silicon, or to some extent wages and national insurance and stuff like that. But everything else we do, I haven't got a supply chain problem as such because everything's made here. I multi-source in stuff that isn't made here. I know where it's coming from. I understand what the lead times are. To me, I would say it's an advantage because I want us to own our customer experience. I want us to own our quality. I cannot do that if I have somebody else, if I'm using someone else's aluminium profiles. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but I have no say. I have to take it on trust that it has a certain new value, whatever. My own profiles, I know what they do. They've been tested. They've been structurally tested. There's a test rig sort of over my shoulder behind there where we try and blow up doors in a way in terms of, to really stress them to make sure the weather doesn't get through. It's the same with glass. We've got really good glass suppliers. They know that they can't get stuff past us. We throw stuff back at them and have a hissy fit if we're up against it in terms of lead times. Same with powder coating. I know if one of my powder coaters has got a problem with a filter on one of their compressors because I can see it in the powder coat. And if they deliver me £30,000 worth of stuff on it, they know about it and they have to fix it. So we've got it's a very good symbiotic relationship, quality in everything we do. So I think it's an advantage because we control our quality. We own our customer experience. I can't blame, a manufacturing company, be it of aluminium profiles or assembling stuff for us. If it's an installation problem, it's my problem. If we got the survey wrong, it's my problem. I'm not saying we do this, but when it happens, we've got full ownership. We've got nowhere to hide. And I love that because then I own our reputation and we own our brand, we own our customer experience.
And then again, that is I think ultimately one of the real beauties of being so idiosyncratic, being in control and having that own system. And I guess there's also an element where when you have your own system, I think those relationships with your clients can be that little bit stronger because they can't get that anywhere else. They can't get a Maxlight, whereas people competing in the same space. There's a lot of those brands, whether they're Al-UK, whether it's Schuco Systems, Smart, Reynolds, you can go through the list. Like you can get them, you can find comparable installation companies that will be giving you the exact same product.
Yeah, but I guess one of the problems of that, if you're somebody that's making doors using Cortizo, and if you get a Smart customer and they say, what's different about your Cortizo doors? I wouldn't want to have that conversation. It says, well, they're made by, they're made by the same contractor, but they're installed by this. I mean, I wouldn't want to have that conversation. To me, I think it's a differentiator. The other thing with us, it compresses the lead times. Any grand designs, any sort of program you look about, people are doing up houses and projects. They love putting in all this jeopardy about glass, and I
It's,
love that because I'm thinking, come here, we can help with that.
but I'm not even joking. Like when I speak to people, whether it's like professional, personal, and if you're trying, if people aren't aware of the industry, and you say, those projects on grand designs with the big fancy stuff, yeah, that's what we. And they go, isn't the glass always late? It's like there is definitely that idea out there.
I think, yeah. I mean, I would, because we do all in house, we have these very short lead times, we control the quality. That's all great. If I was buying in my glass from Europe, I could probably get the glass cheaper. If I was using, off the shelf profiles, I could probably get that cheaper. I don't have to have, £100,000 worth of stock sat down the other end in 3 different colours and mill finish and powder coat it for free. Effectively, is what we do. You can have any colour. But I quite like that. So it may well be if you do outsource some of that, it probably has a positive effect on your margins. But if business slows down, what margin? Because you're not selling stuff. So I think, to me, I think it's a good defense. It's a good buffer against the market going up and down. I think it's great in terms of short lead times because there's an immediate differentiator. And I just think this whole owning of your brand, look, I love it when customers look at reviews. If they look at mine, look at my competitors' reviews, just go back and look at the reviews over time and just see what sense it gives you.
It's fair play, absolutely. Let's imagine someone's coming new into the market. Is there any piece of advice? What sort of advice would you give some entrepreneur or a new business leader who's stepping into architectural glazing and they want to do things the right way?
I'll probably talk to you because you know so much about it. I think it's just eyes wide open. It's whether you're coming into a fenestration business or sort of something else. I guess you just got to look at the fundamentals in the business. What's your market doing? Do you understand your market, where the business comes from, how people are going to make those decisions? Be completely honest. Make sure you know your competition. Just trade honestly. Go for quality. Go for a great customer experience, because that's the thing that will help you to endure if you can build a business that way.
And what do you think is let's just talk about the customer for a bit, because one of the things that is really interesting, I think, about especially with clients at your end of the market, those like the white gold practices won't work on your clientele. They're far too smart, far too informed. So that actual process of selling becomes a little bit skewed. Not skewed might be the wrong term, but the process of selling, when you have such an informed and smart customer base, I guess there's challenges comes with that. I guess there's more of they need to be informed rather than sold to, right? Because they know what they need, right? They know what they want.
Yeah, I mean, you should never be ashamed of selling, but I said there are subtle ways of doing it. I mean, there's research that's been out there for years about how people make decisions, and if you break it all down, I think it's something like 16% of the decision is price. That doesn't mean you can charge what you like, but more than 50% is experience. And I know I keep saying that it is people buy from people, and so I think. If they've got a client that's new to this market, they haven't done it before, they've just got a bigger house they want to push out, they've got a great view they want to experience and bring it into the house, all the rest of it. They've never bought large format glazing before. What we try to do is we try to teach people, we try and sort of attenuate what it is you're saying to you. As an architect, you're going to talk technical and you're going to know there's other stuff. Like the couple I met last week, and we did it all through a translation app on the phone. They have property all around the world, and they've been very successful. But they've never done this. So even through an app, it's just like trying to attenuate the conversation. So you're not sort of talking down to them or trying to go over their head. Just trying to get them to understand, what it is they're buying, the things to consider, and it's not a question of always imagine they're going to go off to your 2 closest competitors. And what is it you want them to think about you when they've been? And it's not so much about the price. You want them to love the product, but you want to think, actually, I sort of want to deal with them because they took the time, they explained, they followed up. They adjusted this, they adjusted that, they put things on, they phoned to check I understood it was okay. They've even offered to come out to site to check it and stuff. They're looking on Google Earth to see which way it's facing, and they're saying, I've got to have this thing called SN70. And we're just saying, yeah, I've even got this app that shows the summers and what time the sun sets and everything. If you do stuff like that, people think you're really investing in them, which you are. You're trying to give them a good experience. You're trying to make a good decision. Hopefully it's a Maxlight decision. But if they make another decision, go with something that's 40% cheaper. If it works for them, great. I hope they love it. And I hope one day they come back to Maxlight or tell their friends.
Yeah. Do you think there's what part of the that service model, that where it's you absolutely, that the relationship with the client is so important, and that service, that sense of you being in their corner, they need to, that you need to achieve in order to not only win that project, but it's the proclivity in this sector for a good job on one, at one end of the street can lead to another job on that street, two jobs on that street.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've got an app which shows where our installations are over any period of time, and it's like a heat map. And you can sort of see, because you've had this stuff going back for some years now, you can see almost you win a job in the middle of a really nice, this a few years ago, in a really nice street in Fulham, and you just watch the heat map grow. You can sort of see, and you could almost reverse engineer that I bet their kids go to school with that shop, that address, and that address, that address.
Absolutely.
It is true. Yeah.
When I first started at Cancerfix, that was one of the things when I'd go through the files, and you'd have like the certain road name, and then and I'm doing the filing, and then another file goes in under the same road, and it was just
absolutely. And there are certain roads in London and in other cities and stuff, or certain islands off our shores and stuff, where you just see it happening, where they're much smaller communities, and you go and do a really good job, and there's a dinner party or a kids coming around after school, you just see you getting other stuff. It may be miles away, but it's all related.
But I also think it speaks to how these products affect the experience of the lived experience, because when you go round to your neighbour's house and you're sitting in the oriel window and you've got the glass of wine and you're like, oh, this is bloody lovely, isn't it? Like that sense of how
I love it when we got I say you get a lot of people in the showroom. Sometimes they bring their dogs, and we've got a dog here. And there's a half term. There's a lot of kids in it, and you see all the kids might be on their phone, but they're all sat in the oriel window on the sort of the cushion in there. And I love that because they're demonstrating the lived experience of it. That sells so many oriel windows. That does, especially when the sun's
also even with regards to trends, right? I think one thing that I found. It's quite obvious to see the oriel window and the sort of gable window now have become, I guess, like cycles in fashion, right? Things come in and come out, but they're really popular now. They've been really, everyone's got a version.
I'll tell you the latest trend: arch-topped. If you look on Instagram, there's so much of it, and we've even put a load of arch-top glazing bars in different configurations on some of the existing doors in the showroom. It's just something that's really, I don't know how long it'll last. I mean, industrial style, that sort of came and sort of ebbed back a little bit, but it's maintaining. But arch-top windows, that's we've done so many jobs like that recently. It's crazy.
Excellent. Let's concentrate now on with regards to. What is in regards to your team? Oh no, let me rephrase it a different way. If someone's coming in to win a job at Maxlight, someone's coming in, they want to work. What's that personality that you think is a Maxlight employee? What do those people need to bring to the table in order to succeed at Maxlight?
Well, I did an interview this morning. So what's it take? I guess. I got asked this question by a candidate, about 3 hours ago, and I guess will they fit in? So I guess in terms of the culture, in terms of what we do, will they fit in? So I guess are they a team player? Because we all operate the same office, we can all hear each other. Sometimes it's annoying, most of the time it's absolutely not. But we all walk across the floor, and sales will go and have a chat with design, or they'll see the surveyors come in, and so it's a very joined up business. So I want somebody that I think is going to be sociable, not going out to the pub every night, but very comfortable going across, knowing what they don't know, going asking for help, learning from that sort of help. So I guess that's the first thing. But that's been true in any business I've been in. The first thing is, will they fit? The next one is have they got the relevant experience of the job? So if it's a surveyor, tell me what sort of things you've been doing. How would you survey this? What surveying mistakes have you made or whatever? How real are they? If it's a designer, show me your portfolio. How do you check for mistakes? How do you do things on that? And are you happy to talk to customers and pick the phone up and have a direct conversation with them if you're trying to interpret something that sales have put through as an order? So I guess it's sort of the people thing. Is the people thing first? Will they fit? Do they have the skills and the track record? And is the referenceability on that? Is it just what you're telling me, or if I spoke to your boss, what would you say about you? How would you feel if I phoned your boss after you joined to see if he says that? And it's not trying to catch people out. It's just trying to get people to be authentic.
Yeah,
We
no,
always take up references now. It's really important to do that. Some people are very good at interviews, but it's trying to get past the ones that are very good at interviews that are actually very good in themselves.
absolutely. And look, we're a specialist recruitment company. We love clients like you. Can we just speak to a bit about our working relationship and what you think that specialist focus niche means when you have a partner like Framework?
I think having a partner from you know what we need. You know what we stand for. You know what we're trying to achieve with our customers, with our customer experience. You know how the sort of the brand and the product is is positioned in the market, and how we never want to dilute that by bringing in somebody that doesn't support that. So I guess it's you having an understanding of our business, but not just our business, the industry as a whole, just knowing what's going on, what's sort of needed. We're all sort of in competition for the same people. You understand us. You're able to promote Maxlight to your clients who ultimately become our employees. So I guess having that knowledge of the business is really helpful.
Oh, thank you. And look, again, one thing that's been just so rewarding is like when it's not only that, like I think people view that the perception of recruitment can be really low in people's minds, but one thing that I really enjoy doing is not only raising the perception of what it can be, but also you only get to do that when you have clients who also chip in. Because I think people do this thing where they think recruitment is something you get. They think we get no, you engage in the process, and you only get the best results by bringing your A game to the table. And you've always done that, and you've been amazing. So just thank you
Well,
very
it's
much.
important. I mean, recruiting's expensive. Got to pay your fee. We've got to spend our time doing. You got to pay the wages and all the rest of it. Recruiting mistakes are very expensive because the expense you never get back is time. So if you're trying to add skill in a certain area, it's because you need it, because you can monetize it. If you recruit badly, you just set that back, probably by 6 months in terms of the amount of lead time it takes to get in there, to get somebody on board, get them up to speed where they're of value. So it's really key to get it right. And we don't always get it right, but it's just trying to get it right the vast majority of the time.
Yeah, humans are complicated, like they're complicated beasts, and even that, like I think obviously, like I'd say, don't judge on the misses, judge on the hit. But if only someone's only got misses, you can't really judge on those hits. But I think it is absolutely right. It's such a
That's how
complicated
you
process.
recover from the misses as well.
Yeah, that works in a few ways. So with that nature of, or speaking about that collaborative relationship, one thing that I also would like to just share a few moments on is the fact that we are now collaborating on an initiative that is trying to create a linear pathway from education into the sector. And given you did something very similar in tech, I think you've been such an interesting collaborator in this respect, because as again, you actually have the experience of why those initiatives are so valuable. Could you expand on, from your perspective, why you'd want to be involved in something like that, given that you're now in a sector that does have a profound skill gap, and I guess you can feel it as the company's expanded in your time?
Well, if we, and by that I mean you and I and other people like me that work for companies like us, some of them competitors, if we don't do it, no one else is going to do it. Or if they are, they're going to be 10 years too late. That's the experience I had before working in sort of the internet industry in the very early days. The business was growing exponentially, but the gene pool to go and hire from, it didn't exist. It was a new industry. So we worked out the only way that we can actually create enough talent out there in the market for us to hire, and for our customers and our resellers to hire, is if we actually develop that talent. Now, we couldn't hire it all and train it, but what we did is that we developed sort of content. I think there was a new word back in those days, but we developed sort of content and training rigs and training methodology and found partners that wanted to deliver it, that could monetize delivering it. We created the dream in terms of, if you go through this training, there's great employment after that. There's a great career after that. And we did it completely selfishly because we wanted to sustain the growth in that industry. And it worked really, really well. It's probably going on 500,000 people globally went through that program, continue to go through it now, and have incredibly meaningful employment. It probably put, I'm now guessing on the figures, but in terms of, I've not been involved in it for a number of years, but it was putting people through education in families that had generations of unemployment. And now all of a sudden, they had a way forward in terms of they could go to university, they could fund themselves through university. And it's a bit like, you go and sell a really nice set of doors on a street in Manchester and you get more of them. You get somebody out of that generational sort of bit where they're sort of stuck. It's not just them. You pick up their entire family, you other people in the street, other people they know down the pub. It has a phenomenal impact on lives. And I guess we're just trying to do that in a small way in our sort of little industry. It's sort of self-serving to me because I want really good fitters, I want great salespeople, I want surveyors, I want installers, but I want people to do a good job and I want the industry to have a great reputation.
And yeah, it is self-serving, but I think it's self-serving in the same way that, like, eating healthily is self-serving. It's good for you. It's
a good diet to be on.
Yeah, yeah. But also, I think one thing, and I think I sort of felt from when you were explaining that, those sort of like that story, is that, like, I think one thing that this industry has really dropped the ball on is our messaging on, this isn't windows and doors. This is a sustainable industry that has eco values, that improves people's metaphysical health. Allowing sunlight into a building improves people's lives. And I think ultimately, I think we that part of the messaging we may have maybe not done enough of, and something that actually could be really beneficial, because it's not just windows and doors.
You're selling a new future experience. So people that put products from from companies like us and other companies that we're working with on this, you are selling it. It does change things. I mean, the world's changed anyway, and all this working from home and COVID and all the rest of it. People have changed their sort of values. I was telling you before, working from home is like living at work. It's not particularly fun because you don't get a break. And it does change the experience. What we were saying about Oriel windows, seeing kids come in here and then sat there, maybe on their phones, but in an Oriel window in the sun, it is a different experience. I'm sort of up against it on time now because I got a sales review, but
No
have you
problem
got
at all.
some material there?
Let's leave on. What is there a topic, do you think, that's not in that should be talked about in the industry that isn't being talked about?
I think there's a lack of honesty in some part, and I don't mean that in an awful way. I think all sorts of promises get made with an inability to follow through on them, and I'm thinking, what's included and when you're going to get it, and what happens when it goes wrong. I think that's the post-sale customer experience or something, or the installation customer experience. I think that's where it's back. When we get shown, well, I can get this so much cheaper elsewhere, and it's exactly the same thing. It's like, well, they're telling you it's the same thing. If you show me, it's not the same thing. They're using glass that's half the price. It'll work. It's got the right U value because it's got the right coating and the insulation. But if you want to use a toffee hammer to break into your house, that's the glass to go for. I don't know what it is. So I think there's a slight lack of. I think because it's a little bit of complexity, a little bit of stuff that the potentially homeowner wouldn't know. I think it's very easy to sort of to mislead people by being economic with certain sort of facts.
I think you're absolutely bang on, Simon. It's that connective tissue, though, as well, to that white gold past. And But look, thank you so much.
I'm being thrown out because of a customer, which is the best reason in the world.
Absolutely. Look, thank you so much. And
good to chat.
Really nice to chat to you. Thank you, sir.
See you very soon.
Take care.
Cheers, David.